Welcome back to another episode of the We Grow Together podcast. I am here with my literal favorite human on earth, James Wilson, my fiancé. James is the co-founder of Wayvine Winery and Vineyard, and we just opened Wayvine Kennett Square. So we're here in the new tasting room at Wayvine Kennett Square. So we're just going to talk a little bit about the journey of getting here and what the story of Wayvine is, because this is your first time on the podcast, so welcome.
Yeah.
So why don't you start off telling us a little bit about Wayvine for anybody who might not be familiar with Wayvine?
Yeah, so Wayvine is a vineyard and winery located in Nottingham, Pennsylvania. My brother and I kind of got everything rolling. My brother planted the first grapevines about 15 years ago now when he was like 19 years old, and got the vineyards established and kind of self-taught like how to grow grapes, how to make wine. And then I got really involved shortly after that. My whole family got very involved, and the vineyards quickly grew from 4 acres the first year that we had a big planting up to almost 24 acres now. So we started with 2 barrels and a small tank in the garage, and now we have about 100 barrels, about 40 some tanks, distribute all over like the east side of Pennsylvania. A lot of stuff going on in Philadelphia, and kind of everywhere in between Philadelphia and Nottingham. So it's been pretty good growth. It took a solid 10 years to get to a point where we felt comfortable not working 2 jobs and just literally finally working for ourselves. And it's been an awesome growth, and we're finally at a point where we get to do really fun stuff like expand into Kennett and do what we're doing here.
Yeah. So I feel like when we met, it was such a cool time in both of our lives, because you were working 2 jobs when you and I met, and I was working 2 jobs in my mind when we met, because
working for somebody else and working for ourselves. Yes.
So for me, I was just building out my businesses and my ideas little by little, and they hadn't yet come to fruition other than investments that I was making. But for you, you were juggling both being in Philadelphia, working in the city, and coming to Nottingham and being at home and being present and working the fields and everything. So like totally different sides of things, and probably putting a strain on your life, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I spent anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.5 hours one way in a car every day. So it could be 4 hours a day in a car. And I don't know, I got used to it. Podcasts helped me through it. And I definitely learned a lot from just driving, listening to podcasts all the time. But it was well worth it. I mean, I took that job in Philadelphia to do sales for other wineries and vineyards around the country and around the world, and got to learn the ins and outs of the industry of like the sales side of things, because my brother and I are farmers first, and that's our main passion is being farmers. But to have a successful business, you got to kind of have everything. So we dove pretty deep into the sales side of things for a few years in Philadelphia, and then got the opportunity to leave that, which I took as soon as I could. So
I think it's so funny that as soon as we met, we decided to drastically change our entire lives.
I like to think that I had a lot of influence on you.
Do you?
Well, I don't know. I saw how unhappy you were with that and being in corporate law and just the way that they treated you and stuff. Every day you'd come home and be unhappy, and it was unfortunate, and told you all the time, like, you don't have to do it. Just figure out what you want to do. So I don't know, it seemed to work out.
Yeah. I think we're both good influences on each other in that way. And then I was in big law, left big law. I think you stopped your other jobs as well, like right as soon as we met.
We were meeting.
Yeah. So I was just a couple months behind you.
Yeah.
And I think do you remember Nancy sitting us down in the living room and saying, "Are you guys okay?"
Yeah.
Are you
both
sure?
of you guys quitting your jobs. I don't even know where we were at that point. I guess
it was the holidays.
Yeah, you were living in Westchester. I was halfway living with you, halfway living at home still. Yeah.
I think it's fascinating that we've gone through so much together in the last 6 years. It's been amazing seeing your growth and seeing everything that you've done. I feel like we've both been each other's biggest cheerleaders and just being the rock that each other needs in all of the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, because it's a lot when you're managing yourself, managing teams, managing all of the income and expenses and everything that goes with it. So I think having a partner who understands it and is there for you is so important for that entire journey to be a success, and also for it to be as good of an experience as it can be.
Yeah, I mean, it's super important too, just to have someone that like understands what working a lot is, and like can understand that like the time we have together will be valued, but it might not be a lot of time together, So, and I think we manage that pretty well.
We do.
I mean, now we've set ourselves up where we have so many animals to take care of that all of our free time is together, but at least it's taking care of our family. So,
which I literally wouldn't want it any other way. But both of us have gone through periods of working 7 days a week. You're probably a lot more consistent in like the work a 7 day a week lifestyle.
I don't suggest it.
No.
I don't try anymore. I try to get away from that, but it seems like I still work 7 days a week pretty much every week.
Yeah. And we got to a point, I think it was like maybe 5 years of 7 days a week. And then I think like last year you started to take solidly a day off each week.
Yeah, the last year up until we opened Kennett, it definitely, Zach had a kid, my brother, who's my partner and everything. He had a kid, which slowed down his life a little bit, which forced him to actually take some family time, because he's probably even more of a workaholic than me. And when that happened, we were after our first year at our farm, and obviously running a farm takes a lot. So I think it was necessary to try to take at least a day a week for just taking care of personal life stuff. But,
and getting back to 7 days a week is for sure not the
goal. The goal would be to lose another day.
Yeah.
To get more efficient to where 5 days is all you need. But we're not there yet.
Yeah.
I need more employees.
Yeah.
I need more systems in place to make that a reality. But that's kind of what we're working towards. And every person we bring on is like such a utility for us. So we're fortunate in that way where like our employees aren't like strict to a specific job. Pretty much I got 5-6 different people that can do every part of our business, which is great. So it's like having an additional person like myself who just is a utility person that can get whatever needs done.
And we'll get there for sure. I think it's a balance of being the person you need to be, being the person your business needs to be, putting in the time you need, and also having life outside of all of those things. But even though you've worked 7 days a week, I've always felt like we have balance in life. And I think that we've always communicated well what we need in our relationship too.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're so intentional about the time that we do spend together being the best time ever. And also, I love working together.
Yeah.
And I think that it's so atypical. I think there's...
it's funny that we say this, that like, now we take a day off a week, but that day off is literally like 7 a.m. Well, maybe we go to breakfast first thing, but then the rest of the day till dark is doing farm chores. But that is our day off.
I know. And so we said last weekend, do you remember? Was it last weekend or the weekend before? We said, okay, we're actually going to not do anything. We were going to get food. We were going to meal prep.
We finally had a day together. I'm like, oh, honey, let's go for a walk with the dogs. We go for a walk. We get distracted by the donkeys.
Start doing some fencing.
We try to do some fencing for the donkeys. Laura's trying to lure them in with food, and one of the horses comes up to get some food, and a bunch of unfortunate circumstances ended up with Laura getting kicked in the face by a horse. So surprisingly, you look pretty good, but it's been a rough week.
It has been. I think that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2
Last
weeks.
weekend was when I fell
Yeah.
down the stairs.
Oh God. So that was.
Yeah.
She's just getting beat up.
I'm just getting beat up for sure. But I agree. Like our hangout non-work days are still generally putting in a tremendous amount of work, but it's in a way that
it's what we love to do. It's what's fun for us.
I love doing like little fix-up projects.
And that's the same thing with like, I work a lot, but I work from home, and my farm, my family farm, the one my brother and I own, is connected to our farm. So I come home for lunch. Sometimes I can feed the animals then. I come home in the evening. Sometimes we do get off a little bit early, and I get to get stuff done. So it's not like I do work a lot, but I also have crazy flexibility with what I do. And like if Laura's home, I'm able to come home and see her. And so there's a lot of, I work a lot, but I work for myself, and I'm not tied to a 9 to 5. And the flexibility of being an entrepreneur is the only way that I think this works. If it was 9 to 5 every day, every week, I don't think that my weekends would be spent working,
Yeah. And I also think that we both understand that we're putting in the time now so that when we have a family, because we already have a family, we have a huge family already, but when we have a people person family, that we have more time together, and that we're setting ourselves up for that. So I think we're both aligned on our lifestyle, and we've been very communicative. I think over the entire relationship, we've been together for over 6 years. So I think we've been really communicative throughout that entire process to make sure that we're both okay with where we are.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I work for every day, is having a family, having kids. That's why I got the animals. My kids have chores and have pets, and I don't know. It's what I have been building all of this for. So yes, like when I do have kids and have a family, or we do, that's what's important. Then I can have the time and be able to be in a place where all my businesses will run smoothly with me not there because I want to go fishing with my kid, or I want to do whatever, or we want to do a family trip and we can actually get away then. So I know it's tough because you don't want to, every day could be your last day, and you hate to work your life away right now just in hopes for a good future. But I always grew up wanting animals, so for them to have animals, but also to give them structure right from the start of like, every morning we got to do this, every evening we got to do this, and like their lives are revolving around our lives, which means our lives have to revolve around them. And I don't know, I think it's just a really good way outside of like just like sports as a kid's growing up to be able to set structure and give them chores, and I don't know, start them off as mini entrepreneurs almost. But also with that is like what I've been telling you is we're going to do all this stuff down the road, like when we have a family, and we'll take more time and we'll have vacations. And it's so hard because you never know what could happen. We might not make it to that point, but hopefully we do. But for me, I find it as like the best way for me to like get done what I want to get done is to just think like, you put in another long week or another couple more weeks, and in a couple of years, this all will pay off, and we'll have a little kid that I can take a couple months and spend with them or whatever I want, So it's really just setting yourself up for a solid future.
Yeah, constantly making that investment in your life one by one, day by day. You're someone who's always inspired me tremendously, because I was just mentioning you're going out hunting and you're waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning to go hunting, and he's all decked out in his gear and he's got his archery, and you've spent so much time getting to know the craft of archery, and you're tremendously, insanely talented. regardless, but you put in the time and that you need to be good at something too. And to me, that's so inspiring that you learn so much and then you get up and you do it and that you put in the time. And then at the end of the day, when you probably want to just relax and hang out with everybody, you go and you sit up in your tree and do your thing. So I feel like you're so inspiring how you put in the time and just have the patience. Like, I feel like you have so much patience to invest in the monotony sometimes of things to get the reward that you want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in my family, I grew up on this big farm that's full of meat for our family to be able to eat, and nobody in my family ever hunted. So I got a little obsessed last Christmas in archery, and I've spent the year training to be ready to be able to harvest an animal, which I don't take lightly. But it's also like I'm able to do all those things and like come home and like spend time working on a craft like that in my free time because I just have the ball rolling. I feel like when I work constantly and I'm always doing something, it's almost easier to do those tasks at home and to like come home and do that farm work and stuff. When I'm in a rut, like in my work life, that carries over into my home life as well, to where like I'm stressed at work, I got anxiety, I can't get things done. I come home, I see the stuff that needs done there. I'm stressed with that, can't get it done, and it just kind of compiles. So like when you hit your stride, if you can roll with that and roll with it, then I feel like it makes things a lot easier to a point, and then you'll get to like a burnout point. But that's kind of always been my philosophy. Like if you got that day where you're feeling good and like you're getting after it, then get after it and keep getting after it. And then day after day, just keep doing that. And it's like when you start working out, like if you do it for a couple of weeks, you're going to be able to keep doing it for a couple of weeks. But if you just do it one day and then the next day you don't, like it's the consistency in life, even just like the little bit that you put in. But if you do it every single day, it's going to have huge outcomes.
I feel like that's so helpful. Like that's so helpful for me just to talk about and hear your insight on, because I've struggled with riding consistently. Like I would love to ride 5 or 6 days a week, but it's a huge time commitment, like of 3 or 4 hours. So it's challenging. So I think,
yeah, but you could have it done in like an hour, but everything with you takes 3 or 4 hours.
That's true. That is absolutely true. So when you have that rut and you're stuck in that rut of anxiety and stress, I know we've gone through those ruts together. What do you do to try to get out of that rut? Is it something you can switch off in a day? Does it take a couple weeks?
A lot of times there's something that hasn't been communicated, whether it's with you, whether it's with my partner, my brother, whether it's with my employees. A lot of times there's something that's usually just a communication thing that kind of kicks everything off and then makes me like start to get a little anxiety, a little stress, and then I see a workload in front of me and it's hard to tackle because my mind's on something else. And honestly, there's other than if it's not that, because that I can just communicate, which is hard for me. Me and my brother have never been the best at that, but to be able to communicate usually can fix it, or you just ride it out. I mean, it's just, you're never going to always be perfect. Like you're going to have a tough day, tough couple days. And I don't know. I just think that you just keep going. I mean, I don't really it's rare that I take a day to try to recoup and get my mind straight, because I don't think that really helps me that much, because I won't enjoy that day. I'll sit that whole day wondering what I should be working on and stress about all the same things and have more time to stress about them, rather than if I would have just started a project, my mind would have been off of it and I could have worked on that project. So I'm more of, if I'm in a rut and things aren't going well for me, I might lighten my workload a little, but I like to stay in it and just move through it and try to work by myself. But I try to do that as much as I can anyway. I like working by myself, but I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a big believer in taking breaks.
I think I'm the same way too. I think I like to work through it. If I have a real bad day, I like to call it a day and go to sleep. Like I like a hour-long shower and then go to sleep if I'm having a real rough one. But other than that, for the most part, I de-stress by working through it.
Yeah, I mean, I want to take time off of work when I'm not stressed about work. Like when I'm in a good place.
Yeah.
Like when I feel comfortable that my employees got the weekend under control and like we can go away and do something where like I'm hands off, I'm halfway mind off, and like that's more important to me than just taking a day to kind of try to feel better when I'm probably not going to. That's work. Like even though I love my job, I love what I do, I work with my family, I'm on my own family farm, like I have a dream, but it's still work. And like once a month, once a week, like you have that moment where you're like, what the hell? Like I hate doing this. Like, or not that you hate it, but it's just such a struggle and so stressful. But it's not. Like, I don't know. You just kind of got to get through it.
And a little perspective.
Yeah, a little. That's the main thing. Just like kind of checking your ego, taking in the perspective of it, and being like, oh, well, like I just said, I work with my family. I live on this beautiful farm. I got all my animals. Like life is pretty good compared to what it was 5-6 years ago, or what other people's lives are. So like, I don't know. Just remembering that we're super fortunate to be in the position that we're in is important. And because I was so fortunate to get the things that I have and to be able to get to this point, honestly makes me work harder because I don't know. I don't want to squander it, you know.
And you love it.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that some of the pattern interruptions that we constantly have in life, like the dogs running up to us and smiling, or the turkeys gobbling at us.
Getting headbutted by horses.
But all of those things, I think sometimes you can get so in your head, but you can only stay in your head for so long in our lives. Like our lives are constantly pattern interruptions from animals. So I feel like it gets you out of your head and gives you a little perspective. And I know we both also, I think when we're in ruts too, also go back to the basics and say, let's get our food right, our sleeping right, our hydration, all like just the basic things to be able to, I think you have to be strong to navigate and weather those storms, and all of those little things add up to give you the strength to power through.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's trying to get back into working out right now.
It's
always a struggle.
Yeah. It's tough for you because I've got a concussion, so I'm not working out right now, but you're constantly moving and working and fit regardless of what you do because you're constantly outside and doing things. Yeah. The number one question I'm asked is, how do I do all of the things that I do? So I made a course, workshop, and workbook sharing all the details. Unleash your potential with the Wild Ambition Lifestyle Design course. Transform your dreams into reality with guided vision setting, storyboarding, journaling, and all the tools that I use to bring my dreams to life. With over 100 lessons, 200 plus pages of workbooks, and lifetime access so you can return to it whenever you need, you'll have all the tools that you need. Empower yourself with actionable steps to create the life you've always desired. This course is the blueprint to achieving confidence, success, and fulfillment. Join our community of ambitious individuals committed to living their most authentic lives. Start your journey today and enroll now to dream and live with wild ambition. So talk through the evolution of Wayvine. We kind of like zoomed from starting 15 years ago to 6 or so years ago, taking it from 2 jobs to your primary focus, and you guys have grown insanely tremendously over the last 6 years. So kind of walk us through
that
so
journey. I took
journey.
that job in Philadelphia, and my brother was still working 2 jobs at home, and we just put everything we had into it. And in my, like, what my brother was doing was just like constant grind at home, like in the vineyards, working for my uncle at another company, and I was in the city doing a lot of sales stuff, and it actually was like a cooler job, but it was all like kind of a strategic move to learn the sales side of things for our company one day, hoping we'd get to the point where we needed distribution and stuff. And through that, I've kind of realized how important networking is. And I'm not the biggest, like, I'm not a big social butterfly, you know. I don't love going to a bunch of things and like going out of my way to meet new people because I just struggle with it. But I started doing that more and going to events and like just kind of trying to network in a way. And then after years of doing it, it didn't feel like it was doing much, but it was. And from that point, like, we had a relationship established with an awesome chef in the city, and it turned into an awesome partnership, which has been flourishing for 2 years now, with our restaurant in Philadelphia, which is Tulip Pasta and Wine Bar.
In Fishtown, by the way, which you absolutely should check out.
Yeah, in Fishtown, and it actually just got 31st or top 50 restaurants in Philly. It still sells out to this day, but the first year is like impossible to get a reservation there. And it's just all like Pennsylvania ingredients with Italian food, all fresh made pastas, which I know is the key to your heart. And then all our wines, cocktails, and beers, which are all Pennsylvania too. So it's like a Pennsylvania through and through restaurant, but like super high quality food and ingredients and wines. So just a really cool thing. And that literally came from just years of networking. And then because of that, an opportunity presented itself. And my brother, I credit like the same way he started the vineyard. Like, he's got a very go-getter attitude. Like, he came home from one little seminar that talked about grape growing and ordered 4 acres of grapes. Like, nobody jumps into things quite like that. So kind of the same thing with Tulip. Like, I brought it home and we had one discussion, and the next day we're getting like plans together to get this rolling. And then from there, we've just been growing a ton at the farm. Like, the farm is our main base, where like that's where we sell the most wine. It's where the most customers come. It's where we're able to tell our story in the best way. So we've put a ton of resources into the farm to expand it. We actually just finished this giant timber frame project that makes this old shell of a barn into this beautiful winery now, and it really elevated the whole experience. And that grows every day. And then with this place we're sitting in now, I spent 3 or 4 years now doing every event that I could in Kennett. Third Thursdays, the Summerfest event, making donations to like the library and the community. My brother's wife, Trish, was really involved in the CrossFit community here. One of my best friends was really involved in the CrossFit community. And we just really tried to make more of this networking, like real human connections with the people that are in this town, because they're so close to us. And honestly, a lot of them are already coming to the winery anyway. So after 3 or 4 years of that, I met another really awesome person that we decided that it's our landlord. So it's not quite like a partnership, but I look at it like a partnership, because you got to like your landlord and you got to trust being in his hands. And I truly do trust that. And now we have this awesome tasting room in Kennett, which is like, I don't know, it's really special.
It is. It's so cool. And we're gonna talk about Kennett for sure. We glossed over a few things. So during that time, you guys also built out 10,000 of a 15,000 square foot barn by hand, doing everything from the woodwork. So you see this is all from lumber from our farm, and that are fallen trees and that they've milled up and everything. And you built out the tasting room. It's a 15,000 square foot
so it's
barn.
a 16,000 square foot barn.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much everything that you see when you walk in that's wood was milled up from a tree that fell on the farm. Not that was harvested, that was actually just fell from old age or disease. And we salvaged that tree from rotting, milled it up into boards with our sawmill, finished all the lumber, did all the woodworking. And then the actual barn space, like every single room was built by us. It's got all heated floors. Every pipe that was laid in the floor is done by us. So everything except pouring the concrete, my brother and I and our small team did. And it's been, honestly, at this point, we probably could have hired a lot of it out, but it's such a passion project for us. And it's like to watch this shell of a barn that my uncles and dad built, I think in like the early 80s, that just had like pretty much a dirt floor, no sides on the barn, and just a roof, an old tin roof. We are so happy that we had that on the farm, and then we took full advantage of it and kind of completely redid the whole thing, and now it's this beautiful, clean, like really high-end winery. And yeah, it was done just by our hands.
It's so cool.
And it was like cool because like when we were doing all this, like we're 25, like 24, and now I'm 32. Yeah. But it's just
been a long process.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
And we actually have videos on YouTube with the build out and everything, and opening up the tasting room at Nottingham. So if you guys want to check it out, we do have all of that on YouTube too. From opening up, you guys now have sometimes 200 people a day coming through in Nottingham. We also have live music, food trucks.
We host big farm dinners.
Pizza, wood-fired pizza.
We started a wood-fired pizza program. So yeah, it's just ever evolving. I mean, nothing's really going to be slowing down. And we're finally at a point where, well, one, we're able to hire employees, which help with every aspect of this. And our team is like so vital to doing what we do. But also we have the ability to put this money that we're making back into it to expand rapidly and like just keep growing and growing.
Yeah. And so if you haven't visited Wayvine in Nottingham, highly recommend it. You can stay at our sister farm, Ethereal Farms, with Airbnbs and everything. So when you guys all hear about Ethereal Farms, this is the sister farm, is Wayvine. And so it's been something really cool to see you build over the last 6 years. And then the culmination of expanding that to another tasting room in Kennett has been so fun. I mean, I love the build out phase of things. That's one of my favorite things. And James is so design oriented. Like, you're so artistic and have a vision. I feel like we're both so compatible in that regard, in terms of having a vision, an idea, and then building something out. So when you're sketching, you sketched out so many really cool sketches of Wayvine Kennett Square. What were you thinking as you were making those sketches of the experience that you wanted someone to have here?
Well, it's to see, like, at the winery, it's a 16,000 square foot barn. So it's tough to, like, we try to make it as intimate as possible, but that's difficult when you have such a large space. So what we've kind of leaned towards there is just being as family friendly and as like casual and open as possible, to where like when you're sitting there, most of the time the table next to you is probably going to be talking to you too. So we established like a really awesome atmosphere in that way. But this place, because it's this tiny little place, we were able to really kind of go out of our way to make it super nice, to have like a very like upscale, really quality feel, something that like really reflects what we do with our wines and what we do with our farming, and be able to take like that perfectly manicured vineyard and display it through a space in the in the city, kind of like, even though Kennett Square is a small city, it's a city. And we really just kind of went over the top with everything we could. Like, this bar would have cost a fortune, but we were able to make it. And so we were able to use really nice lumber and do a very like artistic look to it. And just everything with this place was just like trying to keep it as elevated as we could, to make it as nice as we can, to make it so the customers, when they come in here, it's intimate, it's very welcoming. At the right time of the day, it's kind of sexy. It's like, I don't know, just like, it's a beautiful space. We're really proud of it.
Yeah, it definitely is. I love the atmosphere that we have here, and I feel like we've brought so much of our Chester County love through the Wyatts that we have throughout, through all of the imagery of the barn and the farm. We have like little paintings here, all of course, the wines, merch, and then behind us, we also have a really pretty, isn't that of the farm? Isn't that?
Yeah, that's actually our farm driveway that was painted by Jack Marshall, who's a local musician. He actually lives in Kennett. So a cool little Kennett Connect there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I mean, this place is just so much fun. It was so much fun to build out. We have on YouTube, actually, that's releasing in the next week or so it'll release before this podcast, our whole build out of this place. So I'm excited. If you want to check out more of the evolution of building out this space, definitely check out YouTube. It'll be a really good spot to see like visually how it came together. Ready to turn your entrepreneurial dreams into reality? Join our 60 Days to Launch a Business course and gain the essential tools, strategies, and confidence to start your own business. Guided by expert insights and practical steps, you'll go from idea to launch in just 60 days or less. It's up to you. The course includes lessons, homework, and the 60 Days to Launch a Business guide of over 100 pages of exactly what I've done to start more than 5 businesses, taking you from ideation to post-launch celebrations. Take the leap of faith in yourself and build the business you've always envisioned. Enroll now and start your journey today. What were some of your lessons learned in the build out?
One, that you're not on your family farm anymore, and that you have to do everything perfectly by the books, which we do anyways at the farm now. But really when we were getting started, we tried to get away with as much as we could, but we learned pretty quickly that you can't get away with very much. So one, just like dealing with all those departments, but at the same time, this experience over all the others that we've had, we were able, because we've had a little experience with it, and we were very prepared for every step of the process. We got all of our permitting and licensing and everything done just insanely fast, to where from the minute we started talking to the landlord to the doors opening, it was like 2 months. And that's unheard of for like a build out and getting your licensing and doing all that. So I think it's just a testament to that. Like, we have some experience in this now, and we did our due diligence up front, which was pretty cool, because you never know. Like, it could take months and months from the point that you expect to open, just because you're waiting on some paperwork, you know. So we're very fortunate, but at the same time, I think we did our job.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also in that process of the build out, you really poured a lot of energy into it very quickly. You had everything lined up, and you mentioned you're building a relationship with the town and everybody in the area. But I think that's been one of the greatest reasons why you've had so much success since opening.
I think it would have been hard to open without that.
Yeah.
I don't know if we would have, you know. We already established our relationship in our community in this town, and we felt like we were going to be welcomed with open arms here. And like, the only worry I ever really had from the beginning, which it shouldn't have been because we did establish the relationship and it wasn't our goal to do this, but I know a lot of businesses would see a town like Kennett and try to move in as a money grab, like to try to almost like just get money from a wealthier, like more established town like this. When with us, we wanted to be a part of the community. Like before we were even open, we already started going to the local meetings in town and like seeing what was going on in the holidays and seeing how we could contribute to that. And like this Halloween, we'll be handing out candy to all the kids that come by. And like, so it's just really cool to like be a part of a town and like really feel like you're part of the community. And the people that come in here are so happy to have something like this in their town because there was a little gap that this was missing. So we're super fortunate for that. And then at the same time, I come from Oxford, which is like holds a very deep place in my heart. And like, I want to open something like this in Oxford one day. So being able to do this here and learning all of this and learning from a town that really knows what they're doing and like has their shit together is really cool because it opens opportunities for us to take some of this, pass it on to our community and build up another town to the success that Kennett is. So that's another goal of ours at some point.
Absolutely. I feel like it wasn't necessarily planned from the beginning to invest so much in the community and build that relationship so that the launch goes well. But then looking back, I think it's so evident that that's been a huge reason why.
I mean, we never really planned on opening here.
Yeah.
Like it was always a thought in the back of our mind, oh, it'd be cool to have a spot there. But until the day I met that landlord 3 months ago now, we weren't planning on opening here. It was more of just, we wanted to be in with the community here and already had so many friends in the community here. And then that opportunity presented itself and we're like, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the small space, we're going to be able to turn it over fast. We're going to be able to make it really nice without spending a fortune because it's a little bit smaller and we have the community there. So let's give them what they already enjoy out at the farm, just a little bit closer. And it seems to be working.
Well, I'm really excited. You guys have done a tremendous job with both Wayvine Kennett Square, Wayvine Nottingham, Tulip, everything that you've done. You put so much love and care into our relationship, our family, all the things. So I love doing life together. I feel like it's so much fun. But I'm super proud of you, and you know this. Yeah. We have so many more stories to tell. We want to do some podcast episodes about the farm and what it's like to have a farm. A lot of people talk about whenever they meet us, oh, I want to have a farm too. And I think it'd be really cool for us to share in another podcast episode what it's really like to have and operate a farm. And then I also want to do an episode about how we renovated and brought to life the mill. So Ethereal Farms, we have 2 Airbnbs. So we have the mill and the loft. And we did all the renovations ourselves. The mill we did in 9 days. It's on YouTube if you want to see it. And then we also did the loft as well. So we'll do some separate podcast episodes. We have so many stories to share, and I'm sure we'll continue to always grow more stories to share as we evolve. But thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, of course. It was fun.
I appreciate you. Love you. Thanks, guys.